The U.S. is facing an ongoing economic slowdown which has been nothing short of disastrous for some parts of the country. While gas prices are continuing to rise and millions of homeowners risk losing their houses due to the subprime mortgage crisis, each part of the country is dealing with this crisis differently. In particular, Massachusetts has seen job losses resulting from the crisis. State Senator Edward Augustus represents Worcester's 2nd District, and he spoke with us earlier this week. He says his area has suffered big job losses, especially in the blue-collar manufacturing industries.
We've been challenged, like the entire state of Massachusetts and to some extent the entire country, in terms of losing manufacturing jobs. You know, that's something that the United States, when you look at the job losses, manufacturing jobs are always amongst the biggest sector of our economy where the job losses seem to occur.
The federal government has tried to stem the crisis nationally. It passed an economic stimulus package earlier in the year designed to boost the economy. Many critics have said that the measures taken have not done enough for the average American citizen, while the Federal Reserve cut rates for private banks, in some cases saving companies from bankruptcy. Senator Augustus offered his own criticism of federal government actions, both leading up to the recession and afterwards.
Well, I think the federal government, to be quite frank, has been, lax in so many areas. When you're spending several $1 trillion on a war in Iraq, it means your priorities are elsewhere. And whether it be the mortgage foreclosure crisis, the drop of the dollar, the cost of living and the impact that that's having across our economy, those to me are all symptoms of our lack of engagement and investment in our own country.
While the national economy remains fragile, Massachusetts has not seen the same negative impact of the recession. In fact, Massachusetts has remained fairly resilient throughout the last year. One of the biggest causes of the recession is the subprime mortgage crisis, and that's been noticeably vacant here in Massachusetts, mostly because of the state's high property values. David Turkla, a professor of public policy at UMass Boston and member of MassEconomy, explains.
We had such a housing shortage anyway that all that did is just kind of reduce some of the demand for it.
While Massachusetts' high property value may be a blessing in disguise, its infrastructure and public facilities also provide some security for the state's economy. One of Massachusetts' greatest economic strengths is its highly educated workforce. The state is home to over 250 colleges, universities, and vocational schools. Senator Augustus says a highly educated workforce leads to a more diverse economy.
Well, I think it's helpful in the sense that, having so many institutions of higher learning, so many research facilities, so many industries that are in the knowledge-based kind of world does protect Massachusetts to some extent.
The educated workforce of Massachusetts can clearly bring many companies into the state's economy. As a state that has long had a reputation for attracting high-tech businesses, Massachusetts now has a huge advantage in the growing field of life and medical sciences. Senator Augustus sees these companies providing benefits for citizens of the state in that they are inventing new ways to fight disease, and they also bring a lot of money into the Massachusetts economy.
Not only for whatever therapies that are being developed or whatever medical devices that are being developed and the hope they bring for people who suffer from illnesses or injuries, but the jobs that they can create. Not only the research jobs, but we'd like to see if we can figure out how to keep some of the manufacturing here.
David Turkla adds his support for the industry, also touting their strength as exports.
Biotech is there, and it's one of the mainstays, but we also have a lot of stuff in health research and in instruments, and especially in areas which are very strong exporting industries.
Massachusetts' economy has also been boosted by the emergence of so-called green-collar jobs. Experts say those green-collar jobs will be the future of how we power our buildings and vehicles. One of the fronts in this breakthrough has been the use of solar power. Still, though, questions remain over where this technology can be used within the country to fit into the current infrastructure. While that may be a problem the country continues to deal with, especially in the face of rising oil costs, David Turkla says it has not stopped the state from going ahead with producing the equipment and parts for harnessing solar energy.
Solar panels are starting to develop around Massachusetts, but we're not really, some places here it makes sense to do it, but not nearly as much as it does abroad and in developing countries and other places. And most of the industries, at least when we last interviewed them, and we did a study of these industries about 5 or 6 years ago, were exporting their products.
Solar energy is just one front in the green movement, but scientists are continuing to look for efficient ways to create energy in as many ways possible. One method for harnessing energy that is never far away from the news in the Bay State is the use of windmill power. The Cape Wind project could potentially be one way Massachusetts receives power in the future, but in the meantime, Massachusetts has boosted its economy by working with windmills in other capacities. David Turkle explains how windmills have also brought in some new manufacturing jobs to the state.
The other thing that Massachusetts actually contributes to windmills, regardless of where they are, is the technology. A lot of the electronic technology that's involved in spinning, in adjusting for different wind patterns, and then in taking the windmill and the wind energy and converting it into electricity, and then getting that back into a grid sort of scenario. A lot of that stuff has come from technical instrument development, and much of that has been in Massachusetts.
While it may be long before green energy is fully realized as a part of the Massachusetts economy, there is currently a way to boost the economy in Massachusetts that has recently gained some steam. Movies like The Departed and Good Will Hunting have put Boston on the big screen, and there may be more to come. Talk of a new East Coast Hollywood in Plymouth has led many to wonder just what will the average Massachusetts citizen reap from having more movie stars around.
We need to find out more about is these kind of support structures, these supporting industries, such as employment for carpenters or people of that ilk to help develop sets and things like that, who currently are actually having a relatively hard time because with the decline of the Big Dig, and on top of it, the housing problem, reduced renovations, which has taken groups like that. If we can find something to reemploy them, such as this, that's not a bad thing if it develops a structure that keeps these people permanently employed.
Life sciences, green energy, and movie making may play an even bigger role in the Bay State economy in the future. For now, Americans all over the country are still suffering. Still, thanks to careful planning, smart investing, and some good luck, it seems Massachusetts remains at least somewhat insulated from the worst the rest of the country is seeing. For You Are Here, I'm Dan Wyman, 88.9 FM.